peeling and chopping potatoes. Well, I thought I'd have a baby here in the countryside, have it adopted, and then I can go back to my London life, my career. No one will know any different. I've never wanted children. Are you sure? I don't know where I'd be without my boys. The back door was open, and that everyday small elation of seeing them there, playing and weeding, surged through her. Babies might be your cup of tea, but they're most definitely mine. I'm a chef, a woman who needs freedom, her own life. You're right. Audrey looked at Matthew's wallet, turning it over in her hands. Freedom and children, can't they? To be fathers too. It's women that have to make a choice between two of the most basic desires. Or a family. Zelda dumped the chopped potatoes noisily into her. But I don't need a family. What I need is to have my life back. Matthew's gone. And heartbreakingly hard. See, that's why it's so utterly worthwhile. On my own, Zelda said indignantly. I've never had to rely on anyone. Perhaps that's because you've never had someone you can trust, someone to help you. Family. It doesn't make it wrong to feel kinship with another person. She frowned. What were your parents like? My mother was despicable. Turned out like her, eh? Zelda's voice was starting to sound more cockney. I was the eldest of four. She was two. I was the cold and sick to the ground. She'd had a fever. My mother was never there. Always out in her fancy clothes. Revealed after I was called and banned from the ones nearby. Don't tell me about babies. I had to look after my siblings till she sent me away to work. What about your father? She shrugged. I never knew who he was. I'm not even sure if my mother knew herself. She began chopping up a few sprigs of parsley. Now slower, more considered. You see, I don't want that for any child. She glanced at her belly, now bulging beneath her apron. Which is why this little one deserves a respectable home with two married parents. Help her chop the chives. Women are single or widowed, and now there are places where you can leave your children during the day to go to work. My cousin works in a munitions factory and says there's a nursery where they look after the workers' children. And I can help out if you're still here. But I won't still be here, Zelda said, scraping the chopped herbs into her hand and putting them into the pot. I'll be back in London, being me. She turned to Audrey, annoyed. Cooking is the only thing I know I can do right. All I have to do is win this contest. And then I'll get a job as a head chef, just you see. Her eyes bore into Audrey's. You can't take that away from me. She went back to her cooking, singing again, louder, as if to blot out the conversation. The powdered egg mixed with water became thick and creamy yellow under her whisk, and she gently poured it over the vegetables. Audrey looked through the window. The boys were weeding, the hens pecking away, and over the garden to the hills, a hawk soared gracefully through the blue sky. The world was still turning, regardless that Matthew wasn't there. But then, he hadn't been for such a long time. And where was the package? His things, his precious things. Yes, there they were, on the table. Carefully, she put them back in the box, placing it on the shelf of the dresser. She murmured quietly, to them. wherever he was. You won't ever have to go away again. A sudden yearning to go to the church filled her. Somehow, she had to empty her heart, feel some sense of peace. She pulled on her cardigan, took the roses, and went to the door. Can I leave you with the boys for a moment? She asked herself, who nodded with a slow, and then she quietly slipped out the door. It felt strange walking down the lane on her own, leaving the house, leaving her boys and her cooking. It wasn't something she did very often, if ever. The air, the space felt different, as if her world had been put on pause, and she suddenly felt the sheer transience of life, the fragility as fine and delicate as a spider's thread. She glanced back at Willow Lodge, grateful for its certainty, grateful for Zelda, through all her chaos, helping with the boys and the cooking, rescuing her from the chicken coop, and resuscitating her with tea and friendship. How she hoped that she, too, could help Zelda in return. Cool and silent, the church was dark, except for the blue light streaming through the stained glass window, spreading a heavenly beam across the altar and down through the nave. The smell of damp entwined with the sweet, floral scent of roses. There had been a time when Matthew's rose bushes had been their pride and joy. Then, when the war looked inevitable, together they dug most of them up to make way for the vegetables. She smiled as she recalled that day, Matthew blinking in the August sunshine, his shirt sleeves rolled up. How much I'll miss all this when I'm away. He'd given her a sad, clenched mouth smile. I want to remember it all, just like this, right now. The sun beaming down on us, the boys playing on the grass, and you, my darling, looking so absolutely beautiful. He'd come toward her, putting his hand on her cheek, looking over her face, into her eyes, as if trying to remember every last piece of her. She sat in the pew at the front, tears brimming over her eyes, and she sank to her knees. Dear Lord, she began hesitantly, today I want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me Matthew. For although it breaks me apart that he's gone, she had to stop as a lump caught in her throat. At least I had him for the time that I did, that I reveled in the love of one so creative, so kind, so worldly, that we had each other and knew a love so deep, so encompassing. There was a stillness around her, as if the entire place, the hymn books, the choir stalls, all the saints and apostles had paused to listen. My grief is only equal to what I had at the start. Because the depth of our love and the joy we created was something on the other side of the balance. Another sob came, but she swallowed it back. Thank you for my boys. The physical manifestation of him left for me. They are my one and only link with him now. Them and my memories. Every time I look at them, I smile as his. The head, the lift of an eyebrow. Getting closer to him. Alexander with his creativity. Looks exactly like him. Little Christopher. Big heart. All of them. As they become men, remain with them, running through their veins. She took a deep breath. I want to thank you for my home. I know it's in tatters, but it's an old friend, ready to give what it can to us. I used to see it as a burden. But now I realize that it's our haven, a shelter from the storm. I pray that we can keep it. Finally, I want to thank you for Zelda. She might be an odd, chaotic creature. She is also kind, resourceful, and caring. I don't think I realized how much I needed a friend. And now, at the time when I here she is, helping take care of me. Take care of all of us. Were Nell's quietest part of the day. Mostly she used them for special preparations, such as stocks, jams, and pickling. This afternoon, she insisted on a wedding cake to bake. He boarded a naval ship for Burma. It's the Mrs. They go one day. Found they didn't get on last fall. The men came home jaded, and the women were just exhausted. The romance of it, isn't it? You never know what's going to happen, do you? Nell came out of the pantry with a large white cardboard wedding cake, beautiful false icing adorning its top and sides. It would look almost real. Shame the real cake so cool. The guests don't get a decent slice. I've been baking wedding and christening cakes for the locals for years. And I tell you, truly one. Nell and the fruit cake and bread. But it's a special occasion cake. Everyone loves it, even if they only get a small bit each. She shrugged. Everyone knows we can't do any better with the rations. We've made it as big as we can, with extra shredded carrots and apples, plus some dried blackberries and prunes from last year. And it has soy flour marzipan too. They'll be thrilled. With the cake finished, she put the kettle on for tea and took a chair at the kitchen table, a pile of recipe books beside her. She had set aside a little time to work out her next dish for the contest, the main course. Indian, Indonesian, here it is, Italian. She flipped through to the relevant page. How to make cacciatore. She pronounced it almost letter by letter. Cacciatore, Mrs. Quince corrected from her rocking chair. What a wonderful idea. Oh, the sunshine we've been having will have made the tomatoes sweet and juicy. I'm sure Audrey has some to spare. Marjorie, they use a lot in Italy. Still thinking about that boy. She blushed. Lovely dish. Paolo's going to show me how to make it. He gets Sunday afternoon off, and he invites me to clearing beside the old shooting hut in the wood. Sounds a bit shady. Sure, you can trust me. I don't want anything to happen to you. Nell's face dropped. He doesn't seem the type to take advantage. He's very respectful. My young man. Find an English friend. Paolo speaks good English. I told you. He had to learn it in his family's restaurant in the Alps. It's more than just words, though, isn't it? It's a shared culture, a shared understanding. Are you certain? He says. Of course he does. Nell stood up, frowned at her. Paolo's always saying that he doesn't want to get caught doing anything wrong. He says he likes it at the bar. He doesn't want to be anywhere else. Even asked me to meet up with him. He didn't do anything to upset me. I can tell Barlow. Mrs. Quince gave her one of her penetrating looks. The man makes a girl feel good, so he can get a kiss out of her. How does it about the kiss? She thought. Nell had never even dreamed of anyone kissing her before. Kitchen maids weren't allowed to fraternize with men, let alone kiss them. In any case, who would want to kiss her? Plain little Nell. No. It didn't seem impossible anymore. Just because I'm a maid, it doesn't mean I can't want normal things. Maybe I'll even get married one day, have children. Quince made a heavy sigh, her eyes flickering to the window. Too scared for you. Maybe you should give it a chance. But I thought you said yes. Sometimes in life, you have to take opportunities. You can. Her eyes gleamed a little. I can see that look in your eyes, dear. I know what young love looks like. Nell turned, blushing. I already know him. How could it possibly be anything like that? Exactly. But I remember how it felt. Astonished by this confession, Nell moved to stool beside the old woman's chair. Incredulous. Once, she said with a small smile. It was a long time ago now. Who was it? What happened? I suppose there's no harm in telling you. It was here, in this very house, when I'd just been made assistant cook. 27, far beyond romantic nonsense. I have one or two fancies for some of the bookmen when I've been younger. But nothing like this. He was brought in as an undergardener. Must have been about my own age. His name was Harrison, and he had a faraway look in his eyes. Right into the heart of everything. It was just like the land itself. Deep in her memory, to recreate life from the past. What happened between you? Nothing, of course. How could anything? 1994. Everything was fast. How did you fall in love? I would find something or other to speak to. The berries, the variety of herbs. How I needed the produce. His eyes would meet mine. Eggs completely entranced with each other. A sigh escaped from her. In her mind. Sometimes I had to go out to the walks of her garden to collect them. Passed through the stone-arched gate, coming from the other direction. She smelled the air as if she were there once again. Brush past him to get through. I stopped too, right there in the gateway. Gasped. What happened? longed for. We didn't want to know how it felt when it could never happen again. He reached for my hand, his fingers entwining with mine, pulling me gently closer to him, making me long to put my arms around him. She sat in silence for a moment. It was as if we were sharing the love and feelings that we'd had through the years, like we were enclosed inside of.
What are you doing, Jojo? I'm not getting any signal. Great. I'm not getting any signal.
That you can change about a ski and all the variables that go into it, the design process, the community impact from testing and trialing something about all comes together.
It's a sacred bird. Like it's like seeing a wolf out in the wild, and the loon kind of has that status. And you never think about I'm going to touch it. You might want to touch a deer, but a loon or a wolf just seems like that's very sacred, mystical animal. And so we bring that bear.
2, 3, Not getting any. I don't know, maybe turn off. Mhm. Oh, come on.
Just wait a quick second for Jennifer. All right, we'll go ahead and start our town manager, town council workshop with our new town manager, Tim Pellerin. Thanks for being here. Finally, Tim. For everyone just on, in the public on the recording, we just met in executive session for about an hour before convening this workshop. And we're here tonight to just talk about kind of priorities over the next year as we go into the budget season and with Tim being new coming on board. Just to make sure the council and the town manager's office are on the same page with what our big priorities are going to be. So to get us started, Tim's been here, what, 4 or 5 days total? And Tim, is there anything in particular that you've discovered that you think we need to focus on?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, of the council. Bear with me as I shift from
It's all good.
select board to town council. I apologize. So right off the bat, been doing some basic evaluations with the current interim manager. And I've identified that personnel policies in all facets will need to be updated. And I think that becomes a priority. We need to move that. That needs to be at the top of the list so we can function and more specifically for the public. A general overall, its entirety, a handbook of personnel policies. Not one particular one sticks out, they all just need an update. And we need to transition from it being out of the town code to a policy that's developed by the town council that can be updated annually. And so that it can be, as federal labor laws and state labor laws change, our personnel policy needs to be updated. Being in the town code, it can be referenced from the town code to that, but it needs to be a policy that's implemented by the council. The second piece is we need to improve both documentation, training, and workplace safety for the Department of Labor. That'll be a priority going forward. So I think looking at that, we're gonna take steps to redevelop the safety committee and move forward, making sure that our policies are updated and get stuff implemented. So those are my first 2 big real priorities. Going down our list that we developed, I know I got the one from the vice chair. I'll go over here shortly. So one of the main things first was for us, update the personnel handbook. We're working on a succession plan for open staff positions. We need to get staffing figured out, positions clearly identified. At some point, and these aren't in any particular order, these are just things that Jen and myself have worked on. I would probably like to work with the revitalized downtown, then we put parking's an issue, crosswalks, traffic light, roof, or all that ties into a downtown revitalization project plan that would address those issues. It would all be intertwined to me. I don't know, whether we make that as part of a comprehensive plan update or we make it a standalone plan, either or.
Just on that particular subject, the existing comprehensive plan does have a downtown section to it.
Okay,
So that would be logically discussed as we go through. And then, retool the goals and strategies to accomplish that.
so maybe Mr. Maybe Mr. Vice Chair is just that, we'll when we start to work on the comprehensive plan, maybe we prioritize the downtown district first. It seems that's where the needs are with the sidewalk, traffic complaints, parking, things like that. So that would be my suggestion, but I'm, still looking at it new. I think and these aren't a priority for me, these were just ideas we were throwing out. A helicopter for the town manager's office, right? No, kidding, folks, kidding. We're trying to keep it light here. We're just trying to have fun. No helicopter for the town manager.
There were like 5 helicopters that flew over town this afternoon. It was so loud.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they're really looking for a place to land, but the new Christmas tree was in the way.
Oh.
So a new town office, I think going forward, this may not be a major priority right off, because what we have is functioning. But as you start to walk through and go through, I was, it's kind of showing you that I'm not sure that we're utilizing the space and it's being a good cost factor for the taxpayers. Just saying. I think we might either a feasibility study or a workshop down the road with you folks to think about prioritizing what we do and where do we go. And new members, obviously the new council members get their training updated, which they're working on. How can we help build Pumpkin Town, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what that is yet, so that, I know it's the industrial park stuff, but
Economic development.
economic development for you guys. Sidewalks are an issue. We need to get the sidewalks. Those are both liability issues as well as operational issues. And those are big to the public.
Sorry, Tim, on the sidewalk specifically, what's the specific? issue?
ADA compliance, crosswalks.
Okay.
Levels of different, some of the sidewalks aren't
Mhm.
ADA compliant, they're not wide enough, they don't meet. And then there are different levels on the sidewalks as you walk down the
Mhm.
streets and so forth. All those things are issues that it's fine for us, but when you're handicapped or you're elderly, those become critical issues.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Obviously, the comprehensive plan, I can't stress enough to you, without a roadmap, we'll never get anything done.
Yeah.
We need to have some place where we can have checks and balances, get the low hanging fruit, have a plan, as we talked about, yeah. And know that we're at least checking some boxes. We may only check 1 or 2 off at a time, but let's at least get the stride going forward, then we have something to look back, to your point, Jeff, to look back 2 years later and say, yay, we did this, or nay, we didn't get anything done. If we didn't get anything done, why? What was, and that could be, maybe we were mired in the mud with something else. But at least we have the reasons to understand and know what we're doing. Gotta have a plan going forward.
And we have an RFP out for the comp plan
Yes,
to be
we do.
returned early January.
I haven't received anything yet, but
We have to fill staffing so that we don't overload the employees and get the work accomplished in a timely manner. Budget, the budget process is upon us and we'll get started with that. The ARP monies for water and sewer district.
What was that?
The American Rescue Act Fund monies for the COVID money.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, so water and sewer district. I'm gonna get a share of that, correct?
Mhm.
So they want to talk about that, and then we have to, as we go forward, we have to look at what we qualify for, what our current needs are, what other departments are asking for, and so forth. Marijuana registered caregiver and solar farm ordinances, they're being worked on. The moratorium for the solar farms now, it's on. Just so you know, that expires on March 27th, which is 2022, that'll expire. It's 180 days from your September 28th inception date. 2 roads almost ready to be accepted by the town. I don't know what roads those are.
It's Bittersweet Lane and then Coal Lane. Bittersweet's the one on Route 4. Mine's-
Yeah, where's,
Coal Lane, I believe, is off 236.
okay.
And there's a foreclosed properties too.
Is that?
And the foreclosed.
So we have foreclosed properties. We have 4 of them that are currently occupied. We don't want to become landlords. We just recently updated the fact that we want to go ahead and explain that. The insurance piece.
Yeah, we realized that there wasn't proper coverage on those homes. So we quickly rectified that.
Okay,
So they're all covered now.
However, we don't, so where that becomes an issue that we have to start addressing because we don't want to be in that business. So that is liability. Those are things we don't.
I have, sorry, I have just a question on that. So we have the foreclosed properties that are currently occupied, there was no homeowners policy in place. So then what we then provide the insurance policy,
We own them.
we own them.
We
Okay.
own the property, so we have to insure them because
Yes.
they get hurt while they're living in our house.
Got it.
We owe that.
Right. Just as a side note, the foreclosures were just done. There was only one piece of land that went under foreclosure for this year. And she's sending out a 30-day notice where they can redeem themselves on that.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that happened this year.
And the
So-
other 4 are longstanding.
I'm sorry.
The other 4 properties are longstanding.
Three.
One was last year, 3 were 2 years ago. If I would-
So we need to put the processes in place so that we don't, number one, we're not in the business of taking people's property. And then, what we want is we need the tax money. That's the purpose of us.
Mhm.
So we want to try to figure this out. We're not in the business of kicking people out of their homes either. We don't want that. So, there's laws and rules on the books of how the tax collector can, negotiate and work with those people under your guidance, your auspice of authorization. So, but again, we're gonna move forward as, prioritize and move forward. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I don't think so. That was pretty much everything that we had come up with for our top items.
Then for Jack's list, I'll go down through the stuff that we have. So you can have some answers and then that may help you prioritize what you want to do next. The library roof is done. That was done since June.
Like that.
So the contract closed out,
Yes.
no punch list, nothing.
No, everything was taken care of. Yep.
So
And everything's paid.
they've been paid.
Yes.
Okay.
The next item, what does MIP stand for?
That's the traffic light down by 236.
And we did widen the road there and relaned it. And there was a lot of work done on the edges and to build it all up to widen it. And we had gotten about $225,000 from the state for that project.
Mhm.
And we had, as part of like the tip zone and that whole area. So that is, everything that was planned has been completed to date. And that was completed actually last fall.
It's closed out.
Correct. We paid the last 2% this past fall
Okay.
that we had held for retainage.
Sorry, this is all the stuff on 236, like in front of the high school?
Correct.
Okay,
Widening and stuff.
thank you. What does MIP stand for?
I wish
I've
I
never
could.
heard us refer to
I
that.
think- I
project.
think-
Main
Main improvement
improvement
project.
project.
Oh, okay.
That might be main improvement project. So then Pumpkin Town road status, same, that's what generally just completed the top coat.
All the paving has been completed there up at the dance studio and the road. That was the last part of the project that needed to be done
So
on our side.
We've gotten contract releases and all the closeout information is complete.
We were the ones who paved those roads.
Mhm.
So we used TIF money to complete that project and we used our own paving company. Libby
Okay.
Scott did that.
Okay.
And our highway crew prepped everything and that was completed this summer.
Sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
The town website is going to be a priority because for me, it's a way we can communicate different things and do a whole lot of different things. And I've got some ideas, once I get settled, and I have 5 minutes that I can, I think one of the things we were very successful with and I showed that to you in my interview. We do a weekly town email blast that goes, we reach now about 675 people that just sign up for it. We just blast it out every week. The different departments put this stuff in and you can get it and follow along with the rec department's doing, or sometimes I put stuff in, we have a question of the week, a history question, all kinds of stuff. So I think something like that, but to get to there, we need to have the website updated and user friendly. I almost, I was trying to get information for my application, it was hard to find your website. I told you guys that when you interviewed me, that's terrible, gotta fix that. So that's on our list. There was a question on fiscal 22 appointments and the public works superintendent. That's personnel. I'll take care of that. That's all my stuff. The union grievance for pay issues, that was completed and resolved in July. That's all set. The next position, the question was, the open detective position. Where we're at with that, so forth. So talking with Jen and talking with the acting chief, to fill that, we need full staff, but so I need to do more research on it and a discussion. I don't really have enough information to give you right now, but as soon as I get more information, that'll be a canned discussion at budget time, I think.
That's the trigger for that, just to consider it during the,
The budget.
Budget, yeah, absolutely.
Just for the detective position, because I know we have funded it in prayers, but we've been spending all of that, even though we don't have the position, right?
Well, last year, I believe the police department was underspent by about $80,000.
Okay.
So we're right there.
Yeah.
And then because they've been understaffed, the overtime line has been very much, on the high side. So we need that balance of fully staffed to
To even.
make it all work. Yeah.
Okay.
Hire, rehire, review pluses and minuses of rehiring staff after retirement. That'll be two things. That's gonna be a labor contract issue that we'll have discussions over, and it'll be a policy issue that we'll talk about for you guys.
That would be something that would potentially be included in the personnel policy.
It'll show up somewhere. It's gonna, ideally, I think it'll probably show up in labor contract negotiations first, and then that'll decide what we do with it after it comes out of there to here, and we'll kick that around.
Okay.
Town manager's executive assistant, so let me explain kind of what I developed, so.
we skipped over the DPW.
Oh.
Open position.
Yep, I hired a gentleman in July to cover the position that became open that month.
Okay, so that's done.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see that.
Right.
So town manager's executive assistant, so what I've done is I've looked at the workload, and two pieces of it's both getting it accomplished and accountability. So the first piece is who we can get it accomplished, who's gonna be accountable for it. So what I've done is I'm finishing up, we're gonna rewrite her job description. She's gonna stay, her job title is just gonna be the assistant town manager, end of discussion. She will now have two departments. She will have administration, HR, personnel, and she'll have on one side, and she'll have finance on the other. She will float between those two, managing and administrating those pieces to what she needs to do, giving her the appropriate staff to help get that accomplished. She'll also be a working supervisor where she'll still do the budget, still gonna do all that stuff. And then Heather is gonna do some shifting and come over and help as the assistant safety, assistant HR person, and benefits, that kind of stuff. So what will happen is on the personnel, if we have a personnel complaint, she becomes my independent investigator, fact finder. She finds the facts, investigates it, interviews them, files a report to me, then I have all the facts to say, I didn't get involved in this, it's just, I'm gonna look at that, decide whether, whatever it was happened, and how to resolve that. And then it's a very clean process going up the ladder. By identifying positions, job titles, ranks, and those items, we'll put that out to the staff so the staff knows exactly who to go to with what issues. It's really murky when I don't know where that's going. So the night I said to you, who's handling your Department of Labor Safety stuff? Probably should have been from the board chair or you, somebody. Oh, that would have been, that's the assistant town manager's job. We know that.
Mhm.
So we will identify that, so it's very clear operational lines. It helps with accountability as well as job performance. So, and then hiring, filling the rest of it out of assistant position, whatever we figure out to call that. Do you wanna add lib on that a little bit? Anything you wanna?
Oh, you
Okay,
covered it, yeah.
That assistant position, I'm assuming, will be a full-time position.
what's that?
Whatever we're gonna call this position will be a full-time position, right?
That's what we're
Yes, and-
thinking, yes.
And it is, we,
We're ever evolving what that person's gonna be doing for duties.
Okay.
you see a guy in the next couple weeks, really heavy set, white beard, mustache, and a red hat. Y'all don't get alarmed, we hired him to do some certain things. That's what we like to do, we like to laugh, once I just have a good time with it. So, yeah, and one of the things, that money is in the budget, we figured out how to be creative, that's not gonna impact the
Okay.
budget.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna be a wash.
Okay.
Public Works garage status, you wanna give an update on that, please?
Yes, the roof has been completed. We are still now waiting on the finished electrical and the doors, but we're wrapping things up with that project and Jay wants to get it done really quickly because he knows the snow is gonna start flying.
Yeah.
So we got a little held up on the roof, but we're back on track now.
Okay.
And we're all within budget, so everything's looking good there.
So what do you think? Just to throw a number at it?
For the
No,
total
not
cost or
dollars, but just percent complete. Just guess.
85?
Okay.
They hooking up the sprinklers won't happen until the spring because they're gonna be rerunning the whole water line on Front Street, the water district. So instead of digging it up all twice, we'll hook up when they redo the water line in the middle of the road.
Does that create any safety issues for us? And that will have.
Joe Code did approve, knowing
Okay.
that it's in the plan to be done in
Okay.
the spring.
Right. Code enforcement officer he can approve, that kind of status.
Okay.
And I did check with the insurance company as well, and they gave it a go. So, yep.
Gallo and Town Forest Road status, I don't know anything about it, so I just.
Yeah, Mike Gallo hasn't been in here lately. I don't have any updates on that.
Yeah, the last we knew was that the road is complete. I believe somewhere we have a report from the engineer, our engineer, that checked all the dimensional, the thicknesses and the widths. And somewhere, if we don't have that, we can call civil consultants to find out.
Yeah.
Get a fresh copy of that. And the last I knew, the easements had been signed off. I just didn't know, like, we gotta verify the easements have been signed off with Mr. Gallo and also the homeowners association, because that'll pass through to them
Yes,
between the town. What's going on there, Tim, is that the town granted an easement over town right of way
Okay,
for improvements, and
okay,
it'll improve access to our town forest recreational area,
okay,
and the road will be maintained by the homeowners association.
okay.
In a nutshell, but
So
we just have to make sure that-
we're looking for an agreement?
the agreement is all set. It's just a question if it's been filed in your kind of registry of deeds.
Oh,
and that would be up to Mr. Gallo to do that.
I believe so, but we have to
Yes.
verify.
Yep.
Get the booking page and all the rest of that stuff.
Yep, and that would come to Amy. Okay, I'll check with her.
Is it supposed to be paved or no?
No, it's a gravel road.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, as far as, just from my knowledge, I've been out there quite a bit, so, during some of the heavy rainfall, I've noticed some, a bit of erosion on a spot or two of that road, would that be handled as they continue, or is that, how would that be?
The maintenance is the homeowners, snow plowing and maintenance will be their responsibility.
Okay.
The other thing the town got out of that was improvement of the parking area down by the entrance to the town forest. And as you know, probably that entrance also serves, years ago, we granted an easement to Great Wicks Regional Land Trust to access the DeRoche Memorial Forest. So there's recreational access to the adjacent 134 acres, the approximate 100 acres that we have in the town forest. So it's an ongoing thing.
The land log, I'm gonna turn that over to Jen.
He had come in and talked to us and he had proposed, doing his driveway right next to Powder House where the basketball hoop is and whatnot. And I said to him to come back with us with a plan and I haven't heard back from him.
So it's inactive at this
Yeah.
point.
That is correct. And on the library HVAC, that system is running beautifully. Johnson & Johnson Controls has finished everything on the updates. They were, and Jay was able to reach out to the people who actually installed the wells. And we didn't have the pump levels at the right amount. We had them at 4 and they should have been at 40. So now they are pumping beautifully. They're warm in there. We've all been trained on how to run the system. And it's pretty simple now and they're warm and it's beautiful. So yay.
Great.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was a long time coming.
Yeah.
And Lee, the new director, is just glad that's all behind him and he doesn't have to deal with that. So,
Oh, it seems like a nice fellow. I
Yes.
stopped and introduced myself to him.
oh,
and
good.
He looked back at me and so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, oh, good. Yeah, he seems to be having fun with it. So we're glad to have him on board.
On that line, would that be bundled into personnel and safety policies? Would that be part of the building SOPs for how to run the heat, how to?
No, that's an operational policy, Chuck. That just become under staff operational for whoever, the maintenance crew, whoever does maintenance over there. I don't know who does maintenance.
It's the highway crew mostly that it
So-
falls onto.
It would probably just come under their scope of operational duties.
Okay.
The TIF district, the
Sorry,
note.
we skipped the nature garden.
Oh, I'm sorry, nature guide. Go ahead, Jen. Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
So Karen, before she retired at the library, had been talking with them and they wanted to do these little, gardens and whatnot. And there was concern about one of the places they wanted to do it was over one of the wells.
Mm.
And if we were to ever need to dig one up, God forbid, we should never have to do that.
Mhm.
But we were just concerned in how deep those were, so we didn't want them to be planting plants and disturb anything. And they're very, I think they were like 18 inches deep, and they're just planting little flowers and little things. So they got given the go-ahead with the understanding that if something were to happen with the wells, that we are gonna completely tear up your beautiful garden. But in the meantime, we hope that that would never have to happen, and they're gonna have the little gardens there in the beginning of in the entryway of the library.
Is that something that I know Karen initially suggested? Is that something we think is still gonna?
As far as I know, they were super excited to know that they had the go-ahead, yes.
David Ramsey mentioned that to me walking around the neighborhood, and is that a conservation commission lead?
I almost want to say it's friends with the library,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
It's a conservation.
It's a conservation? Okay, thank you.
It's supposed to be, it's a native plant garden.
Okay.
I know that Friends of the Library were doing a garden or something already, and then what's caused that has been the Conservation Commission to make a bigger,
Okay,
take a bigger.
very good. There we go.
So on the longer term to do the TIF district, and I think the biggest part of that, and Jack's talked to me a little bit about it, is to make sure that, any strategies, continued development within the district that we can accomplish. And then obviously understand the ramp for the ramp up distribution of funds and an exit plan strategy for however long you had it for. So I don't know what you plan. How long was the plan for the TIF?
Well, it's a 30-year plan, and so we've completed 10 years of it.
Okay, so you, yeah,
So, we're in the middle of it right now. So we're still accruing tax revenue for that. And so there's a point in time where we should plan for the expenditure, but we should also plan for the exit.
Correct,
So
Yeah.
there's it's kind of a dot, dot, dot. now,
Right.
Because we don't know the status of Howie Patton subdivision.
Right.
Right now, it's a materials processing facility and it's not really functioning as what we thought it was gonna be as far as the a commercial subdivision. And so there's negotiations, Tim, somewhere along the line where you'll get involved with Howie or his son or whoever else is controlling the property to see what we can do to move that along, because that's our principal tax base broadening area.
I know he does still want to move forward with it. I just don't know exactly when.
Yeah, and then the Glidden Howarth Group is planning on building a second building up there as well. So
Yes,
I've heard that they're doing, I don't know that. but-
they told me that as well.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing thing and so, but I know, as you said in your interviews, that you have to get up to speed on that sort of thing, and
Right.
we've used Bernstein Shore as a representative to establish this thing, so at some point,
yeah.
we'll open a dialogue and start learning that part.
We met with the union today and had our first interview or first meeting. And that process starts with them basically giving us formal notification that they have an intent to negotiate the contract that's expiring. So I told them that that's what they need to do. They're gonna do that. They're putting together a sort of a cheat sheet of their basic expectations by priority. It was a good productive meeting. I thought it went really, really well. I had great success negotiating contracts, so I've had a few failures too, so let me just tell you that on the other side. The goal is to get it done. As soon as I have more information, as soon as they come back with a more solid proposal, we get another date scheduled in January for formal negotiations. So I will be asking for one member of the board to sit on that panel with me. And we will be, and there's a reason behind that, you'll see as we go. So that, once we get started, all the negotiations will be, the issues will be in executive sessions, thank you, executive session until such time that we have a proposal on the table for the council to vote on. So I've asked them to prioritize that, then that's what I'll bring back to the council in executive session. We can have that discussion, see what their priorities are. But it was a good meeting. I want to thank them for coming in today and starting the process, and, I said, let's all be open-minded and reach across the table and see what we can get done. Comprehensive plan update. I know Jen said an RFP's been sent out. We've got nothing back so far.
Yeah.
The Area comprehensive transportation system.
I haven't done anything with that. I know it's an important part for us to be involved in, so
Yeah.
we will definitely look into that.
I don't know if Tom Reinauer is still with Southern Maine Development Planning Commission, but he was the lead facilitator for that system.
What was the name again? I'm
Tom
sorry.
Reinauer.
Okay.
I think the next two, pedestrian safety and town hall, we've kind of already
Yeah,
mentioned they're on your list.
Mhm.
Um, Traffic signal at MHS and Huntington Road. I like that this is here to just continue to remind us to try to make something happen there.
So when we had that traffic study done on October 14th with the MDOT, we just don't have enough traffic
Yeah, I know.
to warrant a traffic light according to MDOT. So
Yeah.
we unfortunately got turned down.
so the road condition survey. So it's currently being done. It'll be done. Right, so Jay's been working on it. I don't know to what level and what extent he has it Jen told me it's up to date. Perfect, I assume it is. We'll be, that'll come in and show up under the capital improvement plan. And so we should have a long-term range. The main DOT uses a system where they have prioritized ratings on roads based on several factors, including conditions itself, travel, road usage. Is it a connector road? Is it a main thoroughway? And all that stuff. So I'll be working with Jay on that, and it'll show up for you in budget time. It'll show up as, as we're trying to fix roads, and you'll see what's being done there, unless the road planning is obviously a CIP program, but it never, road planning is every year, never stops, it just recycles itself. And it keeps going and going and going and going. It's one of our, big assets in town, so.
But when I first came to this town, we were spending, I don't know, say a couple $1,000 on roadway maintenance, that's going back a long time. And it was a top-down, I call it a program, but it really wasn't a program. It was basically just doing overlays and overlays and overlays with no thought to foundations and drainage. And as a road builder, the first, second, and third, and fourth nickel you spend on a road is drainage. That supports the pavement.
Mhm.
So we're at a point right now where I think we're allocating $700,000 a year towards our road program. That's every year. That helps retire the recent completed work on a 10-year bond. I think we're at 6 years left to pay the bond now.
I think it's maybe 5, yeah, it's somewhere around there.
2016, I think it was. We cut
That
it.
sounds right.
And
So,
so we have to retire that debt, and the gamble there was to do a whole, put a lot of money into it, and then hopefully we'll ride that out so that the money we spent won't be, we won't be incurring new debt by the time that
Right.
investment is paid off.
So
And,
after paying the loan, the bond
yeah,
payment, we have
yeah,
about
but in the
400.
meantime, sunlight is always there. Freezing, thawing is always there, so you're gonna always have new things coming up. So, long story longer, part of the reason that we were able to sell this to the taxpayers is that we had the original roadway condition survey completed. And that provided the foundation to say, okay, we're not just saying, give us money to pave roads. Give us money because we have a plan. And former public works director sold it, and he had a cogent plan that this is, 'cause sometimes with roads, the knee-jerk reaction is to do worse first. But sometimes it might be better to let the worst stay worst, but then put some money into roads that are kind of medium.
Correct.
And you prevent them from getting into worse. So instead of putting a whole lot of money into worst, you spread that money around onto the other ones and bump them up, so they don't get to that level. And then when as time allows, you go back to the one
Right.
that really needs to work. So there's some balancing with that, but that's what, those kind of decisions can be made as a result of the knowledge of what's
Right.
worse and what's good and what's bad,
Correct. And there's multiple, so you know that, but they don't. There's more than one factor that goes into that. It's not just looking at the road going, well, it's got a lot of potholes, we'll fix that one. It's got a lot to do with it, every year since I've been in Harrison, every year, the older woman calls me up, she said, you gonna pave my road this year? No, hon, it's only 500 feet and it's dirt and you're the only house on it. Sorry, much as I love you, and we're not doing that. But she thinks her road should be paved, her driveway, because it's a road name, and now every town road should be paved. So, yeah, there's an ongoing, part of my job is to follow that through with Jay and Jen and the rest of the team, and to make sure that we're on the right track, that we have that we keep it current, and we report that to you at budget time.
And not sure, knowing nothing about the roads, that's upkeep of road, that's like the health of the actual road.
It's both.
Correct?
So there's two parts to it. There's road maintenance, which is yearly yearly stuff, ditches, drainage, sanding, so road maintenance. Road maintenance is different from capital improvement repairs.
Yeah, okay.
capital improvement repairs usually often end up in 2 or 3 different stages. It either could be just it could be a complete rebuild, it could be a partial rebuild, or just a resurface. Depending on what you need, that's all the stuff Jack was talking about, ditches, culverts, whether or not, so one of the things in this community you gotta look at is you got a water district and you got a sewer district, so are they digging up a road? We may not need to do anything with it, but if they're digging up a road, they're gonna lay new water line, sewer line, or replace something, that might be an opportunity for us to jump in with them and do the repairs in the pavement then. So multitude of factors that we look at to get to the maintenance. Good question though, Jeff. Maintenance is completely different from the 2 separate projects in 2 separate worlds. So maintenance comes in on the operational budget, for your daily expense budget and so forth. And then major road repairs and capital improvement.
And how do we move forward as a town council manager? What does the bucket fall as assessing our roads as our town grows? I know as we're creating, as the town creates new cul-de-sacs, if they're longer, they think about how they make the road so it impedes speed. How do we assess our roads now that they're getting more populated in the R4, R5 areas potentially? That now they have a lot of people, a lot of traffic, but they were 4-mile stretches of little curves and stuff. How do we assess the safety that we're dealing with currently? Where would that fall?
That would be more of a Department of Transportation study, traffic safety study. That comes under their auspice in the state. Not really, you have to request a traffic safety study. That's, part of it. I mean, it's not a no-brainer to think that we don't know what's safe and unsafe in our town streets and so forth. But to actually get official documentation, you have to request it through Department of Transportation. They come with a little traffic counter and they put it, and then, the other things we can do at a local level, we can get those speed measured radar signs. Do you have those here? Do we have a couple of them?
Mhm, yeah, we
Do
do.
we have one that's portable?
Yes.
So you take a portable one, you set it up and you register the data of cars traveling over a month, how fast the average speed is going. So we can do things like that. But to
Those
actually,
things can track information, sorry,
huh?
those portable ones can
Oh, yes. Yeah,
capture data.
yeah, they capture data and you can download from it. Yeah.
think
I
that's-
assume the ones you have,
I can't answer that question.
were they from the
Maggie,
state?
the one we call Maggie,
I think we own at least 1 or 2.
there's one that has a name.
I didn't know that
I think
either.
it's a-
Yeah, but to your point, Jeff, at the approval of the roadways as they develop, as part of the planning board process, there should be a site distance evaluation. So that, like, say you have a Chronicle Road, well, you wouldn't want to have that new road coming out like right, 50 feet away from that crown, because you wouldn't have, depending on the speed of the road that you're entering, you have to have that site distance so that people have the availability to stop.
Yeah.
So there's those kind of evaluations that happen through the review process.
Right. And that's where I had a little bit of the knowledge, because I've been a part of some of those conversations and looking at where these roads are coming out.
Yeah.
It's more, I guess, topics that I've personally been a part of is well-established roads, like an Emery's Bridge or a Brattle Street. They're well-established roads that don't have any stop signs yet. More people, there's a lot of traffic going. So I wasn't sure how we are assessing as a town the safety, other than just hearing, oh.
Well, it
people are
comes
speeding
before
down
us,
our
they're
road.
actually, you can't just go put a stop sign up because the stop signs have to be
Right.
approved by this board.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think there was actually an Eagle Scout project a few years ago that documented all the stop signs in town. And we found out the ones that were actually approved by the town, and someone just say, oh, we need a stop sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ongoing, and now the other part is that, in your experience in the planning board, I don't know if you got into this or not, since 1984, we've had cluster subdivisions as part of the approval process, and that's a major way of eliminating roadway length.
Mhm.
So you're necking down, instead of having 200-foot frontage, maybe you can get it down to 100-foot frontage. Agricultural Estates is actually a cluster subdivision. A lot of people don't know that. And we eliminated a lot of road And that's a lot of money that we don't have to spend to maintain because we kept it down. We've been criticized by developers for only having 600-foot maximum length of a cul-de-sac. But we're trying to encourage them to go to the cluster route and then get the density off of that. So we're kind of pre-planning to keep our liability and our maintenance responsibilities to an absolute minimum going in.
Yeah.
Now, through the cluster thing, you might extend the roadway length, but for good reason, you might have to, save a wetland or whatever the criteria is.
Yeah.
But all those things get weighed and sorted.
But I mean, what I'm gathering, and I'm sorry to send it off on a rabbit's hole here, but so as far as tracking and assessing our actual road safety, because we talk about pedestrian safety, which is traffic safety. Downtown, we tend to think of, we're thinking of really around here. But is there a mechanism to assess our traffic safety outside of the downtown area? And I just
Well,
didn't know.
that's one of the areas that the CACS thing comes in, because they do that, they track that information. That way there, they can prioritize grant money to different people
Is that
based
just
on
on
need.
road states?
Like, excuse me?
Is that just on state roads or?
Well, that would be more the busier roads, but in fact, that led to prioritization by DOT of putting the traffic light in at the corner of Old South York Woods, Route 91, and the Dow Highway, Route 236. That's just another project that's on the books. It's gonna get built, I don't know, 23, I think, something like that now.
So it sounds like in terms of any assessment, that's something that is done by a state body.
Even
Right.
on town roads.
So we also have data on incidents of accidents at particular places.
Mhm.
That's ongoing.
I mean, I think there's a variety of ways to do that. Yes, even on local roads. So for instance, I guess we can here, the council could change the speed limit.
I think that's state.
For a state road.
For a state road.
No, I think if we want, I think to put 25 on a road, it has to, I think the state gets involved with that.
Over a certain amount of population, you can change it. You can't do state roads, you can do your local roads.
Because we're not urban compact.
Right.
So
But
Not
anyway,
yet.
DOT owns all the roads in the state of Maine. That's the reality of, they manage them. So it's a combination of DOT, local road, local highway department. As far as assessing all that, it's a kind of a outside the box question.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually get that question, so I would assume if there was a road that you thought was dangerous or something, that comes as a topic of discussion and we move on from the council to, let's figure out a way to do this. And I would start with the speed control sign to see how fast the traffic's flowing. And that also tells you the flow of traffic. So that would be one way to do it. But I don't think there's an actual particular process that says, okay, this year we're gonna look at Smith Street, this year we'll look at. I have never seen or heard of that in any municipality I've ever been in. If something comes up, there's processes to look at it. But as Jack said, vehicle accidents, reports, speed, travel, road data, you can call DOT and we can get a count machine. That, I've rented them before, we rent them and they come put them in, they attach the pole, and a black cord runs across the street. And it counts, data cars and so forth. So,
another thing comes to mind as part of the road program. When we rebuilt or overlaid or did ditches out on Emery's Bridge Road, just to the east of Rodeo Road and Bennett Lot Road. We went in there and I think our backslope easements to cut trees because it was a curve this way and the trees were like this, so we were able to cut the trees in the slope to improve visibility for oncoming traffic. And I think on Thorough Road, there's another part of that. Matter of fact, we got in a little bit of trouble one of the people because they wanted their road to be curvy rather than straighten up what was perceived as a dangerous curve, so we left it alone. So it comes and goes that way.
No, I appreciate the time for talking about it, because it's been questions that are come up and I didn't know even where you go to find the answer, so I appreciate that.
Succession planning. What's that?
I just said we talked about that one already.
Solid waste agreement. Jen's been working on that.
The hauling rates are gonna expire at the end of this month. And I've been talking to them since September. So trying to come up with an agreement.
So, real quick on solid waste. It's an angry monster that's getting bigger every day. I think there's some possibilities to look at some ways to, we used to haul our own trash. The cost right now is hauling. That's the piece we're looking at. A significant increase in that. So they've offered us up to a 4-year contract with some increases and so forth. So I'm not sure that, unfortunately, they want an answer by the end of the week or something.
No rush.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm trying to, when I go back tomorrow, when I get back to Harrison, I gotta make some phone calls, people I know that help me with trash stuff. We're trying to work it out. I don't have a good answer for you right at the moment. I'm gonna make the best decision possible for the town.
Is this with Oceanside?
Ocean, yeah,
So-
Casella,
because
they're-
we-
they're
we have a
kind of
long-term agreement with the
that's,
tri-county, 13 towns.
that's for the
That's
tonnage.
2025.
Yep, that's for the tonnage
That's the
portion
tonnage.
only.
Yeah, now the hauling is another contract.
Hauling is the contract we're talking about right now.
Yep.
Got it.
So in other places, so right around you, you said Berwick and Kittery do their own,
It's Elliott that does their own.
well, Elliott does their own.
North Berwick uses Casella, Oceanside, they're all merging.
We used to do our own, we had an agreement with North Berwick. We had a roll-off truck, and it was like, I don't know, 50/50, 60/40, whatever the agreement was. It was registered to town of South Berwick, but those other fees were paid by North Berwick, and that was gonna be one of those 1,000,000-mile trucks, and at 200,000 miles or something like that, it blew the turbo and swallowed it, and so we got out of, we evaluated the pluses and minuses of mobilizing another truck and the cost of personnel to operate the truck. I think they were on our payroll as well. And so that was when the Oceanside thing came up, and it seemed to be, that was a recommended path thing, rather than remold a new truck.
And then the consolidated communications agreement, that's just the phone system here, and we'll look at other alternatives when that comes up. That was what the list I have, so I guess I'll ask you folks, what do you have? Anything additional?
I know, Jessica, you had responded with a couple of things, and Jeff, with the MS4 permit compliance.
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing with our stormwater. Part of our town drains, or most of the town drains into Salmon Falls River.
Yeah.
Which is the estuary, so we're part of the municipal separate storm sewer system. Basically, it's the Portsmouth MS4 district. And so we have ongoing responsibilities to monitor our stormwater runoff. And Christy Rabaska, I can't remember the name of her firm.
I can't remember either. We get billed through Southern Maine Planning, and we are 100% in compliance with that.
Yeah.
Amy is on it, the new gentleman that got hired for the highway department. He is fully trained on it, and yep, we are 100% in compliance.
Yeah,
with it.
so what the bottom line is that we're gonna be spending more and more money on stormwater compliance because of the threat to the estuary.
Mhm.
That's just part of growth, and now that we're measuring contaminant levels into parts per trillion, we're gonna find out more things.
Yeah.
that are floating out there, and forever chemicals, PFAS and things like that are all out there. We never knew about, but they're here, and so it's gonna be a budget item, and we've chosen to outsource that. And it's working good so far, but with the municipal aid, of course.
Mhm.
Labor and stuff like that, for sounding catch basins and things like that,
How long has it been outsourced?
forever.
Okay.
But it's been going on now. We got folded into it, I think, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. But Christie represents all the neighboring communities, so it's a good opportunity for her to present a comprehensive view as to what's going on in terms of the overall impact.
She makes sure that we don't miss any deadlines.
I would expect probably sometime in the next few months we'll have her. When does she normally join us?
I had given you a report that was an update from her.
Oh, okay. In
So-
lieu of her coming to our meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
she hasn't been in for a while, but
Yeah.
that's a staff thing, and we'll know.
Yeah.
Like many things when we need to know.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just something that's, but again, the town's gonna have to spend more money on that as time goes on.
And then Jessica, I know you had a couple of extra things. You just responded to that email from Jack.
Yeah, I just had, I think it's great that we're taking the opportunity to update our personnel policies. I think that in this modern day and age, we really should do some increased potential training for like phishing awareness. So anyone who has access to, town emails, to just make sure that they're reviewing kind of triggers for suspicious emails. And those are like typically, 5 to 10 minute trainings periodically, just to keep their eyes fresh into things that could be dangerous to the town. I think it behooves us in this environment to just keep our eyes fresh and to protect our digital assets. And then I also had just a quick comment to the board. I don't know if this really needs Tim's input, but just based on the number of open seats on the different boards and committees in town, whether or not we needed like a fresh approach to recruiting leaders within the community and, helping to kind of bring people up to speed and to open doors to like new neighbors or reach out to people that may have specific qualities that could really benefit the town. Looking at the comprehensive plan update and knowing that there needs to be some community engagement and how, we may help facilitate that.
We did get 2 applications for the planning board, just so you know, in the last couple of days.
That's great.
Which would then, I was gonna ask you about that later, that would then
It
make
would,
us full and have one alternate.
correct.
I think the comprehensive plan update, if you look at the old plan, the 2008 plan, there's a roster of people that were there, I don't know how many, it was over 50, maybe 100 people involved. But out of that 100 people were a core of my colleagues that because of their involvement, they got excited about participating in town government. And then they went on to serve another capacity. And so they got their feet wet and said, yeah, I can make a contribution. So those are great things. And actually, that's why new blood is good. Because, I'm an old dog and all my people are timing out. And so it's time for new people to come in and develop the institutional knowledge that we all need to function correctly. Good idea.
So, I mean, I think like, it sounds like through whenever we get to the comprehensive plan and the kind of soliciting of like people to
Yeah.
participate in that process, I think will sort of organically kind of do what you're talking about, hopefully.
I'm just hoping that we, I think it's great that we have a super new community, but I also recognize that there's been a lot of movement into the community from people who may not be connected and didn't grow up the next town over. So I just want to make sure that as we move forward with the comprehensive plan, that we're really doing like a pretty broad announcement, recruiting for volunteers, because I may not know my neighbor that moved 2 streets up, lived in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
And actually in South Berwick, we have a very precious thing. We have a citizen form of government. And anybody who wants to be involved can be involved. It may come from places where the municipal government was them in that building. And then there's us on the outside as the taxpayers, and there's not a lot of cross-pollination. But in our town, we have tremendous opportunities for anybody who wishes to participate on many levels. And so I guess with that, I'd like to thank both of you for stepping forward, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I suppose, Tim, one like final comment. I know once the website's updated, if there can be some sort of elevation as to like, extending a branch into government service for new people or whatever we can do as far as like facilitating some communication on the website, I think would be fantastic.
So to follow up with that, just one of the things, again, that I had great success with in Harrison was a weekly newsletter. Anybody can sign up by email. So how that got generated, how we kind of worked on that. There was a study, just as I was getting there, by the Lakes Region Managers Association, a group we had in all the towns. They kind of did a real quick study as to why wasn't there more people getting involved in local government, and what was the failure of the attractions or positive negatives. Time was the number one. People just don't have time. You get kids at home, you got, the people working, blah, blah, blah. That was the number one thing. The number two thing was fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown ultimately became, people have no idea what to expect from the halls and the walls of this building and what these committees and boards, you said it, how many times did you guys say tonight? Well, we're new. You are, but you're here. So I think part of our job to be better, when we talk about transparency, one of the things with a better website is to be more transparent about what are these positions, what do they entail, and how do they work, and how do you get trained? Because otherwise than that, people are like, well, somebody will do that, I'm sure. So I think part of our job is we need to do better at educating the public. I found a way to do that, not me, but all those towns up there. We came up where when you come in, you just sign the email thing saying this is where I want it sent to. We add you, and once a week we put out an email update that is basically a town newsletter, and from the desk of the town manager, from the rec department, from the, this department. And also in there, if you're interested in this position, we have 3 openings, and it works. Sometimes people end up showing up. I need staff to do that, but that's where I'm going. We're gonna get to the website needs to be overhauled, and we need to get that up and running. But, you're absolutely right. And you are by far one of the youngest boards I've seen,
Thank you.
Welcome, Jack. You still owe me lunch. But, and that's the hope for the system, is that we can have people who want to really care and continue, not have personal agendas, and have the best interest of the community in mind. That's what we want. So, yeah, so it's in my forefront, and, we're open for ideas, suggestions, and I just got to get the time to get it all. I just run out of time at the end of the day, it's.
Tim showed us you brought out an example of the newsletter when
Right.
we interviewed and stuff, and it's like super comprehensive. I feel like when we get there, no pressure, no rush, but like, I think it is gonna be so well received by our community to have something like that with all of this information so regularly. And I think it'd be a great place to advertise for open positions. Do you want to work on a comp plan, and like, but provide a little more detail instead of just like, there's an open planning board position.
Right. And so what we would do is like, so under the town manager's notes for this week, I'll put that we have an opening for this position, and see the attached note. And then at the very end of the sheet, we put a little note saying this is what the position is, this is what it's going to be doing, blah, blah, blah. And so there was start with the notes from the manager's desk. And then in this case, you have a police department, police chief, fire department, public works, what's going on in the public works fund. And it's not, it's all positive little snippets, well, this is what we're doing with the public works building. Oh, this week they put more roofing on. And this week they did this, or, they got a delivery of sand. Not a big thing, but people are sitting there, in the evening on the computer. Oh, I want to read this update this week. And in fact, if you go on to the town of Harrison's website, you'll go on and find town of Harrison, Maine. You'll be able to click on the newsletter from last week, and we put a snippet question in there, and the answer comes out next week, and a brain teaser. And we also put little fun facts and comments. And we found I'll tell you the ones we got, a lot of our elderly population, it's connections for them in the wintertime when they can't go out, and they wonder what's going on in the world around them. It's another auspice for them to be able to get something. And there are certain people that we mail them to. We print them off and we mail them. That's what it takes. Not many, most everybody's electronic. So yeah, so I think that's gonna be, and that's really an easy thing to do. It's just, that would be something this other position would do.
Mhm.
That's something, we have to give that the information. She goes on, creates it, and sends it out. Yeah.
I think just on that topic, I think we'll need to kind of figure out, once we implement that, like, what is our process for like gathering the email addresses? you know, and getting the word out to people to like about the sign up and stuff. I feel like that will be just a big piece that we'll have to deal with, because right now we have it set up so like on the website, if you make changes, you get notified, but it's not terribly obvious like what the change is that was made, you know.
I see what you're
So
saying.
like, so I don't know if like we have like, if we can pull from our existing website, like what all those email addresses are, for people who've already signed up for the notifications, and we just transfer those, or do we need to kind of start from scratch or whatever, but.
We could always send out, depending on the timing and we get this up and ready, we always send out reminder notices when taxes are due for the March
yeah, we can
31st.
include it in there.
I don't know if we're gonna be ready for that point, but there's those two big mailings a year that we could put something in there.
Sure,
So
on the website.
I think in this day and age, and the other thing, you know, I'm careful about it, but I haven't got there yet in my town, but other towns have done it, Facebook pages, but you gotta be careful on how you do that, and you gotta make sure that, you know, that there's a way to lock out comments and things like that. And there's a lot of, some towns have done it and it failed, so electronic communications is good. We found the email, the mailer, sending it out, creating a document that we can send to people, they can click, they can open it, they can read it and get the updates, and then they can, you know, if you have any, the rec department, rec programs, all that stuff is included in there, so, you know, seems it's a huge success for a small town. We have a population of about 2,900. We send out over 600 every week. So, and we just have it, there's a thing when, right at the clerk's counter when you come in, if you'd like to have, you know, join, and if you'd like to be included in the weekly newsletter, just fill in your name and email, and the clerk takes it each week, or the deputy clerk, and she just adds you to the list and put it in, punch it out, and every Friday afternoon it goes out. So it was easy for us to do that, and that's what I'm hoping to get to here.
On the other communication that I sent out, that's more, I mean, it's your information, Jennifer and Tim, but
Yeah, the calendar one.
Yeah.
more of a council-centric thing, more of an orientation, just so that it's not a fine brush, it's a roller. As far as just generally what we have to do generally and month to month, or must do things, so it's more of an orientation thing. If you have any questions on that, we can deal with it, but I don't think we have to go by goal on that.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Anything else? that anyone has to add to our list? So I do think it'd be a good idea to kind of consolidate all of this stuff together. I've been kind of keeping notes of for the most part, like what you guys had and what Jack had started with. There's a lot of overlap, but just to consolidate it all together.
And if, I'm perfectly comfortable with staff if they wanted to prioritize, you know, shuffle the deck.
Yeah.
It's a Word document, so we can be moved around in the prioritization too. I think we have probably the three biggest ones, and then the rest can follow.
So going forward, you'll know as we begin to make progress, and whether it's baby steps or giant leaps. At each council meeting, I'll give you my manager's updates. And within those updates will be the updates of those projects as we're getting them done, or what I've been working on. You know, that's my time to tell you what we've been doing behind these walls that no one ever sees. And that's the transparency going forward that we want to share with the public. So that's just a matter of us keeping notes and saying, hey, this is what we've been doing.
Right. We're good. Anyone have anything else? Tim, do you have what you need from us at this point?
Yes, I think so. Going forward, I think we're good. We're gonna get to work and go from there. So I start next week.
Yep.
I'll be here full time next week and go from there.
Cool. All right, well, we can wrap up our workshop. Thank you guys both for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We're done.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Evan.
Alex.
Oh, thank you.